In this video, we're going to talk to you about the raid that happened on Mar-a-Largo yesterday, and I'm going to go over a couple of clips from Fox News, one Dan Bongino and one Eric Trump. Let's get right into it. My name is Kyle, and welcome to the channel. In this video, again, we're going to go through a couple of clips that are, to me, the best I've seen so far in summarizing the sentiment, what's going on with this so-called investigation on President Trump. If you don't know, if you're just seeing this video, just waking up for the first time and getting the alert for this video, President Trump's Mar-a-Lago Palm Beach home was raided yesterday by the FBI. They went into the house, they grabbed stuff, according to reports that we've tweeted out on Twitter, and we've also put on Truth Social, sort of a timeline of what we've been hearing. That is the fact that they've taken stuff out of the house, that being the FBI, opened up a safe, which was empty supposedly, and it's just an insane notion that this can happen here in America. So I'm going to jump right in here. These clips are fairly long. I'm going to get right into them because Eric Trump is going to be the first clip here. He has the information because he was the one that actually was notified, called President Trump letting him know.
All right, joining us now live. He was with his father for most of the day, as I understand it today. Eric Trump is with us. Eric, you were with your dad as this was unfolding?
I was, Sean. In fact, I was the guy that got the call this morning, and I called my father to let him know that it happened. So I was involved in this all day. And, welcome to politics in the 2000s. Sean, my father never got so much as a speeding ticket in his life, until he made one decision, and that's to go down the escalators of Mar-a-Lago and spend a lot of money and go and actually fight for this country for the first time. And he did a better job than anybody has ever done. And they started coming after him. The Washington Post, the day he won, 2016, the day he won, November 8th, that night they wrote an article. This is when impeachment begins. He wasn't president. He hadn't been elected for for 5 minutes.
Do you remember that? You remember when he got elected? The very first day that happened, in terms of articles and saying the narrative to getting him out of office or trying to get him out of office. In fact, I remember when he first went out as the president-elect, he went out to dinner with his family and he was getting bad press because he didn't let the public know where he was going. And they were already attacking him for going out to dinner with his family.
At that point, and this is when impeachment begins, and then he's impeached the first time, and then he was impeached the second time, and they slandered him, they belittled him, they went after him, they went after all of us. There's no family in American history that has taken more arrows in the back than the Trump family, every single time. And you know what? It's gone on past politics. You look at the attorney generals, you look at district attorneys all over the country. All they want to do is they want to get Donald Trump. They raise money on it. They send fundraising emails about it. They brag on camera about it. They go after him. They subpoena him. I'm probably the most subpoenaed person in the history of the United States.
And according to Eric here, that they do this all the time in fundraising, which I'm not surprised about. But the fact is, this is just a public persona that the media has put on President Trump, and it's got them all gassed up for the past 6 years, essentially, to look at him a certain way. Look, I am actually doing a watching of The Apprentice, the old Apprentice, that show that came out in the early 2000s, and the love that the country had for President Trump, Donald Trump, was amazing. And all the people who came in there, the businesses that were coming in to support the show, and the charities that were coming in who were getting money from The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice, and it was just awe-inspiring how everyone loved President Trump, especially if you look, well, then Donald Trump. You look back, Don Jr. was there, Eric was there as well, and so was Ivanka as part of the series. And you saw them behind the scenes, and they talked about their father, in a way that was just like Eric said. He never got a speeding ticket. He was always above board. And he talked about in the show, look, there's some things you just don't cross. You can do things, you can push the envelope, you can't cross that line. And he was adamant about that on the show and fired people for being dishonest. And so it's just amazing how everything flips over, and how Eric here says essentially the same thing. He says, look, it didn't start until he became the nominee for president and was going against these guys as a land builder, as an entrepreneur. and did all this stuff to help this country, and then you turn right around and have Biden do the exact opposite. It's night and day. People can see it. And the left are essentially panicking.
Every single day we get another subpoena, and they do it for one reason, because they don't want Donald Trump to run and win again in 2024. And Sean, that's what this is about today. To have 30 FBI agents, actually more than that, descend on Mar-a-Largo, give absolutely, no notice, go through the gate, start ransacking an office, ransacking a closet. They broke into a safe. He didn't even have anything in the safe. I mean, give me a break. And this is coming from what? The National Archives? Yet, Hunter Biden, he's a firearms crimes, prostitution, illegal drugs, shady deals with everybody around the world. And by the way, it's all on his laptop for the whole world to see. In his own writing, in his own words, corroborated by everybody.
And then you have that side of it too. You have Hunter Biden, who there is connection now with the dealings with China and Joe Biden when he was vice president and his son having meetings. That's all coming out now, but there's nothing about that. I'm not going to play the whole clip here. I'm going to leave a link here below, but you should watch it because he goes through all of this. If I were to react to this video, it would take 30 minutes to go through this. And I don't think you need to see all that when they can say it much better than I can. But Eric goes into the fact that all the things are happening with Hillary and of course, the dossier and Russia, and Hannity, who I'm not a big fan of these days, but he does a good job articulating it and summarizing the history, because all this stuff we tend to forget. We tend to forget what's transpired and how all this stuff has been repudiated and been disproven after the fact, but no one's actually having anything being done to them. And so I'm going to show you the second clip here. This one is with Dan Bongino. And Dan Bongino is the guy who was a Secret Service agent under Obama. And this is what he had to say on Fox News.
Filtered on Saturday night. Stan, your quick emotional reaction. I think everyone's a little emotional here about this raid.
Yeah, I mean, you think? This is some third world bullshit right here. Let me say it again. Third world bullshit. I mean every word of that. I don't care that it's cable news. I was a federal agent. I raised my right hand, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I love this country. This is a freaking disgrace. A disgrace. We don't live in Cuba. We don't live under Kim Jong-un. We live in a constitutional republic, a representative democracy. You have a bunch of FBI...
A lot of people understand that we live in a representative democracy, a constitutional republic. And for those of you who don't know what that means, what it simply means is, if I were to paraphrase and make it in its lowest common form, it simply means that we are a government where you have representation of the people, but as a republic, it must come down through a moral mandate, that being our creator. Our rights are endowed by our creator. So the rights of the people are protected, through which the rights thereof are given to us from an entity, that being God. It cannot be changed. It's immutable. And that the government's role is to protect the people's rights from ever being taken. That's the role of the government. And it's representative simply because we have different states, have different laws, that have different culture, and it's an amalgamation of people working together. But if you don't like one area, you move to another, and vice versa. And those states and those areas have different rights that they want to hold to, but it all adheres to the federal government, which is only responsible for protecting us against foreign entities and protecting us against ourselves, so that our rights are protected. That's basically what we're talking about. We don't have that anymore. And what Dan Bongino gets into right now is something entirely different. We're talking about banana republics. We're talking about countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and worse.
Agents raiding the home of a former president because they don't like his politics? Are you kidding me? You've spent this whole show, Jesse, and I've spent my entire time either on Fox or on my podcast exposing the left for claiming Russia interfered in an election as Hillary Clinton paid off a bunch of foreign agents, her team literally, to fabricate a story that occupied the nation for 4 years. What's she doing right now? Getting a manicure in freaking Chappaqua. She's not.
See, that's the injustice there, right? I mean, everyone can see this, and the fact that the media covers this up and does not let people know about it. They're getting the news from the New York Times, they're getting it from the Washington Post, they're getting it from any number of these woke leftist outlets who are keeping true information from people, and therefore people are basically going off a false narrative and acting on these bad opinions and looking totally foolish and feeling very discouraged, at least for a while, when every time they would turn around, those allegations turned out to be false. And so it's the countless times you see it, like the more recent one about President Trump being in the back seat of the limousine of the Beast and reaching over and grabbing the steering wheel, even though it's literally like, I mean, it's like 13 feet from where he would be to the steering wheel of the Secret Service vehicle. It's utterly ridiculous.
Not doing squat. Nothing. Hunter Biden is having on tape while doing. And what is he doing? He's living in a Malibu mansion. And yet the president, the former president, who whether you agree with his claims about the election, whether you agree or not, we still live in a country where you are allowed to challenge an election. There's even a process, the ECA, the Electoral Count Act. You may not like it.
The Electoral Count Act, I knew it was a due process thing that you could do to contest an election. I mean, that's what that is. It's what this country is made to be, and it's one of the reasons why we have a country to begin with. Is because there's something called checks and balances. I don't have time to get into all of it, but it just basically says that no one branch, one entity, no anything has the ability to have more power than others. In other words, another branch of the government, whether it be the presidency, whether it be Congress, whether it be the Supreme Court, and recently some rulings coming down from the Supreme Court saying that federal agencies don't have the ability to dictate. Even though they're appointed, they don't have the ability, they're unelected, and they don't have the ability to force their will on the American people. That's a check against them as well. That's also coming down. That came down as a Supreme Court decision recently. And so that's what he's talking about here. And this whole ECA is just a matter of checks against an election. I knew something like that existed, but I guarantee you CNN doesn't talk about ECA.
But it's a process. How do I know it's a process? Because some people are trying to reform it. You may not like it, but now you send the FBI. Let me tell you something. I have paid due deference to the FBI for a long time, and a lot of listeners didn't like it because I work with some very good people over there who've since retired. The management of the FBI has now shredded any single sliver of credibility this agency had left.
I'm not even sure they even care about that. It's obvious that the public opinion on the FBI is totally shot now. And now he talks about what is the solution to this? Here's what he says lastly.
It happened tonight, and I'm telling you, the FBI management, here's the solution, last thing. We have now got to win in 2022. You have no choice now, folks. Oh, we don't like the swampy Republicans. I don't like them either. Republicans may not be the solution to your problems, but Democrats are certainly the cause of all your problems right now.
And I'm the first one to say we got to get rid of the rhinos and primary out the ones who don't have America First policies. But like he's saying now, I mean, a line in the sand has been drawn. And I have to go back to my original positioning saying, hey, we have to get the Democrats out first, then the rhinos second. If we can get them all out at one time, that's great. But right now, we're at a critical mass. And so we're having a live stream on the 16th of August. It's the primary for Alaska, McCluskey, whatever her name is, and Wyoming, Liz Cheney. She's down over 20 points. So that stream is going to start at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The polls close 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in Wyoming. And we're going to be covering it for at least an hour and a half, hopefully, if the polls are correct and they have proper policies and procedures in getting those ballots and those votes counted. We should have something pretty soon. They can forecast that pretty soon. So we'll have that. So That's the primary. And of course, November is going to be the big day where we have to have a majority, hopefully super majority, in both the House, I'm not the Senate, but we should get the Senate in terms of majority. But right now, I've heard someone say, a pundit say, I don't remember who it was, that all the Senate seats now are up for grabs. That's not true, but a lot more than we thought initially are now up for grabs.
There was ever a clarion call to remove your ass from the seat and go vote in 2022, this is it. And there has to be not only hearings, but a total house cleaning at the top of the DOJ and the FBI.
And that's what we're talking about here, is a total house cleaning. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that President Trump will get back into office and he will rectify all this again, and that it will just shame the Democrat Party so much because they couldn't do it. And the people and the minions that are running this administration, we just did a short the other day where we show Biden could even put his coat on. I mean, obviously he's not running the show, so something else is going on. That's a topic for another video. And so that's what I have here. If you didn't see the video that I did on Rumble, I have a link to that below. Just go there and you'll see my reaction, which happened essentially an hour after all of this went down. And I go through some of the things. So we know more about it now, but at the time we didn't. But go take a look at that if you like. And we'll be keeping you up to date on this particular story because it's so breaking, it's so historic. And for that matter, if you want to come on board with us from locals, go to theconservativetake.locals.com. That's theconservativetake.locals.com. You can join for free. You can become a member. Get the first month off for free with the code name Brandon. That will get you your first month. That'll give you more access. But for the first level, I have some videos out there that I'm going to put up soon that's going to actually talk about the historic nature of all of this, what it means, how it plays into our history, and why it's so important. So check that out when you get a chance. Well, what say you? What do you think about this whole thing? What do you think the end game is? I'm going to talk to you about that in those videos coming forward, but I want to know what you think about this. And how upset are you that they went after a former U.S. president in a raid, which Eric Trump said that they had been talking and cooperating with the people on the investigation for this so-called January 6th committee, and that they were cordial and they were communicating and they were talking, and all of a sudden they would do this. So what are your thoughts on that? How angry are you? And let me know. I'll be curious to know in the comments. And if you like what we do here at The Conservative Take, where we take pop culture and politics, filter to your right, please check out some more content that we have for you.